Good morning, this is Niels Han Dynasty. Please like, share, and subscribe. Be kind, helpful, and grateful. Buy yourself some silver and platinum. You'll appreciate it in a year. This report is about Ching Chong Chun Chun, the place that I cannot talk about. Because for some reason I get strikes on YouTube for talking about it or saying its name. I guess the Hui Uff organization doesn't like people talking about it. But I've done several reports about how the Belt Road Initiative is not only killing China, but every country that takes a loan from it. And I'm a nobody, not educated, blah, 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 but I have eyes and I have ears and I'm intelligent. I've said it before and I'll say it again. China is DOA bankrupt. Here's some proof.
With Chinese characteristics, and striving to achieve the Chinese dream of a great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. And a key part of that was his Belt and Road Initiative. I'll let this video from Chinese state-run media explain it.
The belt connects the land, the road moves on the sea. This promise that they hold is drawing prosperity. The future's coming now. The belt and road is how.
Haunting. It's like Baby Shark if the sharks were told if they didn't sing, their fins would be cut off and put into a soup. Sing. Sing like you mean it. So to provide a bit more detail, the Belt and Road is a $1 trillion global investment program, offering loans for construction to developing nations, things like roads, hydroelectric dams, etc. Those loans made Beijing the largest government lender to the developing world by far, with its loans totaling nearly as much as those of all other governments combined, according to the World Bank. Over the years, we've seen just how disastrous the Belt and Road has been to any country that signed a contract with the CCP. Kind of like a deal with the devil, if the devil were less handsome and charismatic and bad at playing the fiddle. Many of these countries ended up in crippling debt. Belt and Road loans played a part in the economic collapse in Sri Lanka and Zambia. The projects have also caused a lot of environmental damage. The WWF has listed over 1,700 critical biodiversity spots and 265 threatened species that will be adversely affected by the BRI. Oh, I never knew the WWF cared so much about the environment. Snap into a plant-based Slim Jim. Oh, yeah! And apparently the great cause of socialism with Chinese characteristics involves a lot of human trafficking and forced labor. So yeah, things aren't looking good for the Belt and Road. But when I said the China dream was falling apart, I meant literally falling apart. A lot of these mega projects are absolute wrecks. I've seen Jenga towers on rowboats that are more structurally sound. I'll show you how bad it is right after the break. Welcome back. This is a Chinese-built hydroelectric plant in Pakistan. Now, according to the World Bank, hydropower plants can have an operational life of 100 years. And yet, 4 years after it went operational, Pakistan had to shut theirs down after detecting cracks in a tunnel that transports water through a mountain to drive a turbine. Pakistan is currently in the midst of an energy crisis, so being stuck relying on a broken Chinese hydropower plant turns out not to have been a good long-term strategy. The Chinese firm has since abandoned the project. Not because they screwed up, no. They said it's because of local protests over the plant and the failure of the Pakistan police to offer credible security. Why are there protests? Who knows? It's a great dam. Stop asking so many damn questions. Here's a Chinese-built hydropower plant in Uganda. Guess how it's doing. It was shut down after finding more than 500 construction defects. People are panicking over only 500 construction defects? Yeah, this definitely isn't China's fault either. It's all those whiny dam protesters. As for the other Chinese-built hydropower plant in Uganda, it's 3 years behind schedule, a delay that Ugandan officials have blamed on various construction defects, including cracked walls. The government had to start paying back the $1.44 billion it borrowed from the Export-Import Bank of China to finance the project, even as the plant remains inoperational. China also built this vast housing project in Angola. It was funded by a $2.5 billion loan from China. 10 years later, Many locals are complaining about cracked walls, moldy ceilings, and poor construction. Honestly, at this point, I'm starting to wonder if the walls crack after construction or if they're just built using pre-cracked walls. Chinese construction company is blaming the locals. Obviously, those locals can't appreciate the cracked wall aesthetic. I mean, what's wrong with a crack house? Well, now that I've said it out loud, I get it. More recently, China has been making a big push to expand its influence in Latin America. And Ecuador has been on the forefront. That means lots of Belt and Road construction. It's probably worse than you can imagine. I'll tell you why after the break. Welcome back. So you're probably thinking, how could these Chinese construction projects get worse? What? Is there an active volcano involved? That'd be ridiculous. Actually, no, there is an active volcano. I'll get to that one in a minute. Now, as I mentioned, China has been particularly aggressive in Ecuador. A lot of it began after Ecuador suffered a sovereign debt default in 2008. At the time, Ecuador's far-left president, Rafael Correa, decided it was time to team up with like-minded communist China. In total, Chinese banks lent Ecuador $18 billion during Mr. Correa's term. Maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Because Ecuadorian lawmakers, former government ministers, and anti-corruption activists say the loans lacked transparency, with contracts given to companies without public bids, resulting in shoddy construction, high costs, and graft. By the way, did I mention Correa was later convicted of corruption? Wow, he and communist China really were like-minded. I wonder if he also blamed this all on those damn protesters. So let's talk about some of these Chinese projects. One was a giant metropolis that was supposed to be Ecuador's Silicon Valley. I'm showing you an illustration of it because despite a $200 million loan, the project has been abandoned, along with a $6.3 million supercomputer sitting out of doors and unused. Wait, they've got a giant supercomputer just sitting outside. Shelley, I think I have an idea for our next China Uncensored road trip. It'll be just like that game Stray, which I talked about on our new gaming channel, Gamers Unbeaten. I'll put a link below. Ecuador has other problems as well. There are some 200 Chinese-built schools, many with faulty foundations, slanted floors, and exposed cables. Considering how China builds schools in China, I don't think anyone should be hiring Chinese construction companies to build them in Ecuador. That'd be like seeking marital advice from O.J. Simpson. And then there's the active volcano and the hydroelectric dam China built right next to it. It's called the Coca-Cola Sinclair Hydroelectric Plant. Not to be confused with the Coca-Cola Sinclair. Yes, I am willing to stretch to make a reference to Babylon 5, the greatest show ever. Since opening in 2016, this hydroelectric plant has become Ecuador's biggest source of power. The Coca-Cola Sinclair Hydroelectric Plant is a $2.7 billion project. So you might think it would be well made, if you haven't been paying attention to literally everything else I've said so far. Well, this Chinese-built dam already has thousands of cracks. And by thousands of cracks, I mean they've already found 17,000. Faulty steel imported from China, it seems. Also, tangent, who counted all those cracks? I assume someone super paranoid about breaking their mother's back. And even if the cracks don't destroy the dam, all the environmental damage it's caused could. The dam has sped up the erosion of nearby riverbanks. According to one geologist, the erosion is a process that would normally occur over thousands or millions of years, but the dam has accelerated it in just a matter of 5 years, leading WWF stars to say, "Oh no!" The erosion has already destroyed roads, oil pipelines, even Ecuador's biggest waterfall.
Alright, that's enough. I hope you guys get the point. Every country that was invested in the Belt Road Initiative is going bankrupt and corrupt. You guys have a good day. China is DOA.